to my channel. Today we are going to get into the Divine Rose 2 collection. Well, it's an extended collection of the Divine Rose 2 from Pat Mcgrath. She re-released this Divine Rose 2. This is the Mothership palette, and it's in this really beautiful pink packaging. Now, I have had this palette. It's kind of crazy because when I bought this, when this was launched, it was like an exclusive, like one-time thing, and then she decided to bring it out again. Brands do that. So in this collection, she relaunched it in this rose gold packaging, and then she also launched a quad in the Divine Rose 2 kind of color scheme. And she also launched a new highlighter. This is called the Divine Rose, and it's really pretty. It's a really pretty highlighter. And then she launched two new liquid matte lipsticks. These two right here, we have Divine Rose and Divine Nude. In the video, I am going to be playing with the quad, creating this eye look, comparing it to some of the other products that I have in my collection so you guys can see, you know, how this quad compares to some of the other Pat Mcgrath products. And then, of course, I will be showcasing the highlighter, trying it on my skin tone. Of course, a bunch of swatches and comparisons of this next to a bunch of different highlighters in my collection. And then trying on the new liquid lipsticks, both of the shades, and also comparisons of these shades. Now, here's the thing. I never seem to learn when it comes to ordering from the Pat Mcgrath website. So I ordered the highlighter and the quad on her website when it launched on the 29th of January. It is not shipped yet. I know that things are delayed because of COVID and stuff. I never seem to learn. I always think, oh, it'll be better this time, because sometimes it is. Like, I remember pre-COVID, I was really frustrated with Pat Mcgrath shipping, and I told myself I would never buy from their website anymore. I'm always gonna buy it from like Sephora or another retailer. And I never seem to learn my lesson, because sometimes when I buy there, I get my stuff quick. Not this time. This time, it still has not even left the warehouse from the Pat Mcgrath warehouse. So I went ahead and bought these two on the Sephora website so that I could get the review up for you. And because of that, I'm going to go ahead and do a giveaway in this video. So giveaway details will be in the description box down below. Very easy. All you have to do is just comment what was your favorite product of the Divine Rose 2 collection, which piece do you love the most, and then of course your Instagram handle, Facebook handle, Twitter, email, some way for me to get in touch with you to let you know that you are the winner. That's it. Very, very easy, and I will put the dates when it will end and all of that in the description box down below, but it's a great way for me to give back to you guys and also, you know, get these products and review them for you. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? If it hasn't even left the warehouse, I know that it ships from back east and I'm in Utah. It's going to take 3 to 5 days for it to even get to me once it leaves. So if I waited until it arrived, it would be 2.5 weeks later. And that's all the information about what we're doing in today's video. Let's go ahead and jump into all of the tutorials, trying on all these new products, and then of course we will get into the swatches and comparisons, and then of course I will jump into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay, so let's start playing with this new palette. It's the traditional, you know, rosy with the gems and stuff like that from Pat Mcgrath. And the quad is really beautiful. I was putting my fingers in them and the mattes feel a little different. I can't quite put my finger on what's different about them, but they feel very smooth and almost like a satin type of finish where they have a little bit of a shine to them. Super pigmented, very beautiful. So I'm kind of curious about this matte formula. I don't know if it's the same or if it's different. It feels different than her regular matte formulas. I don't know. It could be the same. These are so pretty. So I'm excited to play with this. Now, I didn't put any concealer on because I didn't know if I was going to get any fallout. I think I'm going to grab this light shade. I'm going to use the Smith 253 brush. Kind of bringing it up into the crease. It's a really beautiful peachy pink. So I'm going to put some here on the brush and I'm going to spray it with some setting spray. Oh yeah. really pretty. Look at that. Oh, that is a beautiful peachy pink shade. It's super pretty. So it has a peach base with a pink shift to it, and it's really pretty. And I want to go into the purple shade, this one right here. I'm gonna go into it dry right here on the outer corner. Now that's dry, so that shade is very pigmented. I'm gonna kind of blend it into that first shade, and I did get some fallout, which could be my brush. That purple shade is stunning. Look at that, it's so pretty. I'm gonna kind of blend these two shades together, kind of dipping back and forth between them just to kind of make them blend a little bit. Okay, next up, I'm gonna grab this shade right here. So when I tip my brush into it, it's, you know, you can see it's more of a powdery formula, but it's a very soft, almost like a satin. It feels like a satin. So I'm gonna bring some of that right here on the outer corner, wiping the brush off because that was a lot of pigment, and then I'm going to blend it out. That matte is amazing, like amazing. It blends so good. Like sometimes I struggle with Pat McGrath's mattes because they're so pigmented. There's so much pigment. And sometimes when you're blending it and putting it on, like if you're not careful, you can like get too much and then it just kind of overtakes. These are pigmented, but even though they have a lot of pigment, it's controlled. It's a very buttery, very smooth, amazing formula. So far, the matte is kind of blowing my mind just how easy it is to blend. Okay, I'm gonna wipe my brush off. I'm gonna go into the pink shade and focus that right here just to bring a little bit of the pink to the purple. Whenever I'm using like pinks and purples, I prefer something a little bit more softer, a little bit more lighter, but these shadows have so much pigment that you could really build this up and make it a very dramatic, you know, just beautiful, beautiful look. Okay, so I just went ahead and threw on some concealer. So I'm gonna first go into this shade. And I'm gonna lightly, like I don't want this to be too dark on the lower lash line and knowing that it's very pigmented. So I've went ahead and tapped off. And I'm going to bring a little bit of that underneath the lower lash line, kind of blend it in. There we go. Okay, I mean, so pretty. That color is perfection. It really is. I gotta read the information on this palette. I never read the information. There's just something different about these mattes. They're so buttery and so beautiful. I can't get past it. Oh, I love it. Okay, so I actually want to see what it would look like to put this purple shade here on the lower lash line. I'm gonna pick up this purple shade and I'm gonna wet it down to control the fallout. Now I'm going to go back to this brush and I'm going to go back to this shade right here. I am going to go in and kind of blend it out with that shade. I'm going to grab a smaller blending brush. I'm going to go into the purple shimmer. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of it. Just sweep a little bit of that right up into here, like right on that outer corner. And then I'll take a clean, like blending buffing brush and kind of buff it out. So I'm gonna leave that there, and then I'll probably use the highlighter as an inner corner highlight. So once I get the rest of my makeup on and I'm ready to use the highlighter, I will go ahead and put the highlighter on the inner corner. Okay, so this is the final look on the eyeshadow, and very beautiful. Just, I love the way that this look turned out, and it's just very soft, and I I'm very excited. I really do love the way that this eyeshadow look turned out. It just, I don't know. I love those mattes. Those mattes kind of blew my mind a little bit. So definitely happy with the final result. So let's go ahead and move on to the highlighter. The highlighter is in this really beautiful kind of hot pink color. It's more of like a pink purple. It is beautiful. And it does have that really beautiful kind of gel type formula. Look at that highlighter. Oh my gosh, that's pretty. Very pink with the gold. Very beautiful. It definitely is a very soft metallic formula. You can see as I've ran my hand through there, there's a little bit of powder products you can see. So it's not like a full like gel formula, but it's super soft and has a beautiful metallic finish. So I'm going to grab this brush from Wayne Goss and I'm going to go in and grab some of this. Let's go in and put some here on the cheeks. Oh, look at that. So soft. I mean, it's a very soft highlighter. And I have quite a bit of texture coming on right here. And you can see that it is, of course, a highlighter. Highlighter's always going to emphasize texture. I mean, that's just kind of what highlighters do, right? But this is a very soft formula. So it blends and kind of melts into the skin really beautifully. Very beautiful formula. If you like a pink gold highlighter, this is really pretty. Of course, I will do some swatches and comparisons of this highlighter next to several other highlighters that I have in my collection. Let's go ahead and put some of this highlighter on the inner corner. There. Oh, look at that. So as you can see, the highlighter is really beautiful. Normally, when you have a pink highlighter, they always put like a silver undertone with it. This one has more of a gold undertone. So it's a pink and gold combined versus the pink and silver. So I actually really like the color of this. Normally, I don't like pink highlighters because of the silver. Because sometimes when I use any type of silver base highlighter on my medium to tan skin, it always turns it like, it always looks a little ashy on my skin tone. This one has the gold in it, so it just really melts into the skin and gives you that pink gold flush. It's beautiful. Like one of the prettiest highlighters I've ever used from Pat McGrath. It's gorgeous. Let's go ahead and move on to the two new lip products that I got. I didn't get the actual matte lipsticks, but I did get the liquid matte lipsticks. I was really curious about the liquid matte formula, so I went ahead and picked up both shades, which is Divine Rose and Divine Nude. Let's go in with Divine Rose first. So that's a very comfortable formula. I do recommend wiping off the applicator because you don't want to put too much of this on. I had to go over it with my finger and make sure that I picked up any extra product. I don't wear liquid lipsticks a lot. Every once in a while I will, but this formula feels very comfortable. So I like the feeling of this. This feels very comfortable. It feels very lightweight. A lot of liquid lipsticks are a little bit too drying, but this one doesn't feel drying at all. So I like this. This is really pretty. Okay, so this is Divine Nude. Now I recommend going in with your finger and kind of lifting up anything that's extra sitting on the lips. It is a very smooth formula. So, and it's got really good pigmentation, but because it's so smooth, it's almost like you do get like a little bit goes a really long way. And I would just recommend you know, picking up whatever's left. But this is really pretty. I don't know that I'll wear these all the time. It depends on if you like liquid lipsticks. If you're a big fan of liquid lipsticks, I think you'll really enjoy these. So that's it for all of the applications. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches and the comparisons. And then of course we will get into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay, so now that we've made it through the swatches and comparisons and all the tutorials, let me go ahead and get into my final thoughts. Let's first start with the palette. I like this palette. I think the shades are incredible. The mattes, I later found out as I was reading the information about it, these mattes are a newer formula, and that's why they felt so different when I was applying them. They're absolutely beautiful, you guys. So soft, so buttery. And I'm kind of living for this formula. I kind of hope she makes an entire palette with this formula. It's so easy to use. So I feel like if you're somebody that has bought Pat McGrath palettes and you've struggled with the pigment and the amount of pigment that comes in her mattes, because we all know her formula is fantastic. First of all, I just have to say that. This formula still has all of that pigment, but it's so incredibly easy to use. Like, such a fantastic formula. This shade right here, you guys, I mean, it swatches like a perfection. This is what you pay the money for. I mean, the opacity, the shine, just so good. So here's the thing. If you guys wanted to buy the Divine Rose 2 palette, so this palette, right? This is a $125 palette. Here's the thing about this palette. I don't really use a lot of the like holographic colors. So for example, these 4 shades here on the end are always her like special formula where they're so hard to dupe. Her brand is well known for this formula, right? Well, for me, I don't really use those holographic shades. And so these 3 shades right here, I never use. I love this shade here on the end, but I never use these 3 shades. So when I grab this palette, I use these shades right here. And then sometimes I'll grab this to kind of, you know, emphasize or make it shine and give it that sparkle. So here's the thing. If you liked the Divine Rose 2, but you really didn't feel like you were going to get the money out of it because it's $125, but you loved those pinky purple tones, I think this new little quad is perfect for you because you kind of get the same color story, but without those special holographic shades that you may not use, like me. Like, I never use those shades. I'm not saying that the Divine Rose 2 Mothership is not, is a complete waste for me, but I just don't use those shades. So if you're like me and you don't reach for those shades, this is like the perfect palette to pick up because you get these beautiful, buttery, gorgeous shades in a quad, and they're all four shades are stunning, and all four shades are very easy to use. The other thing I want to mention is I think out of, like, I was going through my collection and I was, pulling them all out, and I will say this is probably the quad that I will use the most of all the quads that I have from Pat McGrath. This is probably the one that I will reach for the most because they're just very beautiful, beautiful pinks and purples, and so easy to use, so easy to blend, easy to create a look with. This is a win-win. But I do think if you have the Divine Rose 2 Mothership, you need to start out with this. If you're not a Pat McGrath collector and you have bought the Divine Rose 2 Mothership, I don't think that you need this palette. Because there are some similarities between these shades, I don't see the need to have both unless you're a collector, unless you want it. I mean, this is a little bit easier, travel friendly than this. So it all depends. It just all depends. It all depends on what you have in your collection, what you like, what you don't like. But as far as the quality, the way that the shades blend, it's perfection. Seriously, perfection. Okay, that's the information about the quad. Let's jump into the highlighter. Okay, so here's the thing about this. This is the Champagne Gold highlighter. Now, this is a very expensive Luxe highlighter, and it, like, I could knock you out with it. It's so heavy. I literally, if I chucked it at somebody, it would probably knock them out. It's so heavy. This one is not as heavy, which it's not as luxe as far as packaging goes, but this shade was a little bit hard for me to use because it kind of has a purple undertone. So let me just show you really fast. So this is the Champagne Gold. And you can see that it kind of has a little bit of that purple undertone to it. Well, this one is a pink gold, and I'm obsessed with the color of this highlighter. Obsessed. It is so beautiful. Let me show you how gorgeous this is. So they're not the same formula, by the way. This one, the Champagne Gold, is a little bit more of like a creamy texture. This one is, the new one is a little bit more of that metallic-y type. So they're different textures. But this is got this beautiful pink with the gold, and I love this. However, as I was going through swatches and going through my collection, I was swatching it next to this new palette from Natasha Denona. This shade is almost identical to this new one from Pat McGrath. So see how this is the Natasha Denona. The only difference is Natasha Denona has a little bit more glitter in it than the Pat McGrath, but they're the same color combination, meaning they're a pink and gold together. So the Natasha Denona one has a little bit more of that glitter base. It's still beautiful on the skin, by the way. And the Pat McGrath, this is like that gel powder formula where it's not quite gel, but it's not super powdery. It's kind of in between. It's that hybrid gel powder. But this one doesn't have any glitter. It's more of that metallic finish. But the Natasha Denona has a little bit more of a glitter, but they're so similar in shade that if you have this from Natasha Denona, you probably don't need this new one from Pat McGrath. That's just kind of my opinion on it, because they do look so similar and they have the same shift, like as I'm moving my hand. See how the light hits it? The top, by the way, is Natasha Denona. The bottom is Pat McGrath. But see, the Natasha Denona does have a little bit more purple in it than the Pat McGrath, but on the skin they look very similar, especially when you hit the light. So I, just FYI, in case you already have the Love Cheek Duo from Natasha Denona, it might save you money where you may not need this new one from Pat McGrath. But taking that out of it, This is my favorite highlighter from Pat McGrath so far. This works beautifully on my skin tone. It blends beautifully. It's a perfect like hybrid formula where it's gel powder. Gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous. So let me say a little bit of differences between the Charlotte Tilbury and this one from Pat McGrath. The Charlotte Tilbury is also that powder. So you can kind of see where it has a little bit of that chunk to it. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Pat McGrath. They're similar, but I would say, I mean, you can see they're similar somewhat, but this one from Pat McGrath is a little bit darker and just a little bit more metallic-y than the Charlotte Tilbury. I would say that the Charlotte Tilbury it has a little bit more of a silver base to it. It still has a gold in it, but it has some silver in it. So the Pat McGrath has no silver in it. It's a pink gold. Charlotte Tilbury has a gold silver with the pink. Formula-wise, I like the Pat McGrath more, but they're similar enough that you may not need both. The one from Charlotte Tilbury, you get 11.5 grams, and this one from Pat McGrath, you get 10 grams, which you still get quite a bit here in this. So it kind of just depends on what finish you like more. Now the lip products, I have the shade Divine Rose on, and I've had it on for about 2 hours now, and it's still hanging on. I haven't added anything because I wanted to see what it would look like 2 hours later. I would say it's probably been an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's still hanging on. And my only thing was, when I went ahead and wiped off the Divine Nude, because you know when I went off camera I was wearing Divine Nude, so I went off camera, took off Divine Nude, and then I did take a little bit of lip balm and kind of just a tiny bit though, and kind of coated my lips a little bit and then wiped off anything extra so they didn't have any like, you know, like a thick layer of it on, just a thin layer of lip balm. And then I went in with the Divine Rose shade. And I felt like it gave me just a little bit of hydration because I do feel like these are a tad bit drying, but they're not as drying as like, there's several brands out there that I just cannot wear from liquid, like their liquid lipsticks. Like ColourPops are too drying for me. Buxom's are too drying for me. Anastasia Beverly Hills, too drying. There's several different brands. I would say this isn't too drying and it's not super hydrating. It's kind of in between. But going in with something before and then putting that on really helped. And I think the color has maintained. It's definitely faded a little bit, but it's still there, and my lips don't feel dry right now. If you like liquid lipsticks, I think you'll enjoy these. I think these are it's a good formula. So that's it, you guys. That's it for the review. Sound off down below in the comment section. Let us know if you guys picked up anything from this collection. What did you pick up, and are you liking it or are you not liking it? Let us know. I've always loved hearing your guys' input. And also don't forget, if you have not bought this collection, definitely enter in the giveaway. I got the notification just about an hour ago that it has shipped. So definitely enter the giveaway if you're interested. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I love you all so much, and I will see you all in my next video. Love you. Bye.